Hey, KP, here we are. We've got another incredible episode from our continuing TPM 26 coverage. I am very, very excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited about all the content that we were able to record while at TPM 26. This is another great episode. Be sure to watch all of this full episode and enjoy.
All right, welcome to another episode of Kev Talks, a TPM edition. Really proud to have the Port of Virginia here as a present sponsor. I'm going to ask for introductions. I don't think you need to lead that from the two Kevins, but let's start down here with Tom.
Glad to be here, Kevin and Kevin. My name is Tom Capozzi. I'm the Chief Sales Officer in the Port of Virginia. Basically handle all the commercial activity with our customers, the ocean carriers, as well as the BCOs.
Hey, Kevin, thanks. My name is Joe Harris, and I'm the spokesman for the Port of Virginia. So the external messages usually run through me.
Hey, good evening. Thank you all for having us. I'm Russell Young, Vice President for Central Logistics, Port of Virginia. I'm responsible for attracting new development outside our centric markets throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, as well as attracting manufacturers, importers, exporters to fit into space that the spec developers have built throughout.
It's awesome. All right, Joe. I got to know a little bit more about the Port of Virginia and in particular why it matters now in global logistics.
The Port of Virginia, it's always mattered in global logistics. And I think our level of importance has risen. And it's on the rise because of the investments that we're making in our terminals, in our capacity, our capabilities to handle cargo. And that is driving interest in Virginia. You have companies that want to come and be close to a growing and modern worldwide logistics center like the Port of Virginia.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the Port of Virginia's role in the U.S. supply chain ecosystem.
Well, that's a good question. We are the third largest port on the U.S. East Coast. And we are a gateway to, of course, Virginia, but we're also a gateway to the Midwest, which are these critical manufacturing and population centers that we serve. We serve those centers, those areas by rail, double stack on dock rail. So we can reach those populations very quickly, usually less than Tom, 2 days?
Yeah. And the other thing is about 40% of our business is rail cargo to and from the Midwest, which is about double most of the other East Coast ports.
Has that grown recently or is it?
Yeah, I mean, we took a little bit of a dip last year, but over the last 5 years, our rail business has really grown tremendously, and we're back on track this year already. We were up in January like 22%. So
Yep.
Strong.
Well, that kind of leads us to the next part of that question is like, as the Port of Virginia, how has your mission evolved as like the freight types have shifted a little bit?
It's evolving in that we are offering more to users of the Port of Virginia. We're offering more to BCOs. We're offering more to our customers, which are the ocean carriers. And that offering comes back to what I talked about. Is we're investing $1.4 billion in getting better.
Wow.
And that $1.4 billion covers deep channels, deepening to 55 feet, which will really, as we sit here, we've become the deepest port on the U.S. East Coast. The digging of 55 feet is done. Wow. So now we're into the final mapping stages of it. It comes from adding another ULCD berth. So our ability to handle 4 big ships at once is a reality, and it'll be 5 by 2027. We talk about rail. We have added the capacity to process 2 million TEUs annually through our rail our rail ramps. Right. And we are, by the end of 2027, when this capital campaign is over, we'll be able to process almost 6 million TEUs hands down through the Port of Virginia. So we'll have a ton of capacity.
That's unbelievable, because those of us, you know, Russ and Tom, you guys, we've known you guys for a long time, for almost 30 years. So 20, 27 years, 28 years, something like that. So I've watched your port evolve and get bigger. And so it's impressive to hear and to see what you guys are doing there.
Certainly, and really to add to Joe saying, that $1.4 billion gateway investment program that has really given us the opportunity to attract national, regional developers, and investments being made beneath the border as well as inside our gates. Give those developers the confidence to go ahead and invest in those facilities, and then in turn, it'll us attract new users or expand existing users to the port.
That's awesome.
And I would just say too that 1.4 billion is on top of almost $1 billion that we put into Norfolk International Terminals and Virginia National Gateway prior to that.
Wow.
So we've really created just a great capacity to handle freight reliably, efficiently, and we're starting to see a lot more interest from you. You guys have known about us since, what was it, 1998?
1998, yeah.
When
I'm
Walmart,
not that often.
but a lot more BCOs, 3PLs are really starting to catch on to Norfolk as a gateway where they can do business and get great levels of service.
It's also the investments not only inside our gate but outside the gate with the infrastructure, road infrastructure, as well as the bridge tunnel expansion too. So that's given us another reason for kind of putting the whole package together for those developers to come in, new users, folks participating. It just gives them, a better reliability and more efficient movement of the product.
Yeah. You guys have always been on the leading edge of those kinds of things, that infrastructure, because, I remember dealing with the Secretary of Transportation at the time in 1998. She was talking about, how do we help the infrastructure for you guys to move more cans along these corridors to your transload facilities and to your import facilities. So, kudos to looking at it.
It's nice that we have a very progressive leadership in Richmond, and we have an integrated transportation infrastructure. So when we sit down at the table, the Port of Virginia will sit with the Virginia Department of Transportation, and we're looking at projects. We're looking at bottlenecks, choke points. Where's the best spend for money to move both commuters and cargo? And that integrated freight plan, integrated transportation plan is critical to our success. You're no good. You can be great inside the gate. But if you leave the gate and you go into a traffic jam, it doesn't really help much.
That kind of gets me to, we're talking about all these investments, big projects. What's the biggest challenge getting all of these completed? You're kind of getting through.
The biggest challenge the biggest challenge to get them done is on time and on budget. We're on time and we're on budget, but the trade environment is kind of wonky and it's driving prices for things. But we have an entire team dedicated to making sure that we're keeping budget integrity. And then maybe the next biggest challenge for us is really Tom and his team going out and continuing to convince people that this is the place to do business.
So with all of these investments, all of our hard work, what's the expected throughput, and how does it improve carrier choice?
Yeah, I think
Impact carrier.
Yeah, obviously our desire is to attract as many carriers and their services as we can. We're actually at the point now, we've got a good broad selection of carrier services, but we want to get where we're in the best position on the rotation, where they're coming to Norfolk first in. So that's something we're really trying to attract right now. And the other thing I would say is we're really trying to become more than just a port. We're trying to become a supply chain solution provider to our customers. So we've made an effort. We've restructured our sales teams, and now where they have individual industry clusters that they're responsible for, and they can really become an expert in those areas. And we think that really has the potential to provide value to those customers, because we're really getting inside of where their decision making and trying to show how we can provide value, why this is the best place for them to locate.
That kind of leads us. Go ahead.
Awesome. That's a great pivot to a topic that I want to talk a little bit about, Port 460 development in particular, of exactly what you were talking about, is building this cost.
Absolutely.
What is Port 460?
So Port 460 is a joint venture between Rockefeller Group as well as Mac companies. And they've started, it's about 500 acres total, and it can accommodate 5 million square feet. They've already built 2 spec buildings that total around 700,000 square feet. And they just had an announcement of the 42 acres, in addition to those 2 buildings that are available today. 42 acres will go to a third-party Henry Pile to build a new facility. It'll be about starting at 200,000 square feet, and it's capable of about 420,000 square feet.
And it's important.
And that's just one of many development sites around us. I think we're up to over 30 million square feet.
Right. Yeah. So it's higher than that. It's about 40 million.
Okay.
So it's been announced or is under construction. So,
Yeah.
and that's throughout, again, the Commonwealth in our central market. So whether it be Hampton Roads, Tidewater area, be the Richmond area, the greater Richmond area, or up in our inland port Front Royal. We've had a number of our sales folks been successful at attracting a number of big users like Lowe's. They have a facility that's 1.5 million square feet. Suffolk, as well as a facility outside of the Richmond Green Terminal, it's 1.2 million square feet. We also have AutoZone in Benton County, which has about 800,000 square feet. And Target recently announced last year 4 million square foot loss not for import goods. So you can see kind of some of those bigger names that you see what Joe and Tom are talking about with the investments that are being made, the efficiencies that we have both inside the gates as well as outside the gates to get the product to the
I would add to that, we're attracting these national companies, Target, Lowe's, et cetera. And the money that we're spending, it matters today and next week. But what we're doing is we're looking 5 and 10 and 15 years down the road. And these national companies, we're telling them, your needs are not going to outstrip our capabilities. We're growing. And we're telling them in 15 years, when things change again, or 10 years, we're going to have these foundational elements in place: deep water, modern terminals, good workforce, all these things. So you don't have to worry. Yes, warehouses to soak up all this stuff. You don't have to worry. That's a really important message to take to the market. You're not going to outgrow our capabilities.
The other thing I would point out is while we're getting all this great investment on the import side with these distribution centers, we're also seeing significant investment from some exporters, particularly in the agricultural area, where we've got DeLong, International Feed, and a third-party group, Raymont, all building bulk transload facilities in our market, taking advantage of that same rail network that serves our intermodal group. They're using that to bring hopper cars into our market of ag product. And we're already a very strong export port. That's going to make us even take off even more.
We should mention Schooler Logistics.
Yes.
They lease several acres up at Richmond Grain Terminal, and they have a grain elevator right there, and the trucks line up every morning, and those boxes get stuffed. They go to international markets.
And that's also to add, we have an existing transloader in our market with Fornasia International, who's been there for years and does a great job.
Well, I want to back up just a second before Kevin gets us onto the export side, but talk to us a little bit about the importance of partners of like a Dewey Pile in developing your continued logistics ecosystem, because I know you're not just operating as a terminal, right? Yep. So talk to us about the importance of those partners.
So it's significant because they can help attract new service providers, new opportunities for us. We see folks like Boat One, as well as Unis, which I mentioned, Dewey Pile, that have come to our market and they've brought new opportunities to them. So it's very important for those folks for us to attract new service providers and grow with.
Yeah. And a lot of times they're, the big companies like you guys were with Walmart and Target, Russ talked about this, but sometimes you got small to medium sized companies that don't have the ability to just build their own building. So they're looking for a third party provider. And we've done a great job in attracting new providers into that market.
And the field dimension identified too. They've made a significant investment throughout that type of region.
Yes.
So that's right. 1 second. Just want to make sure something's
Yep. Let's go back a little bit more on exports. You were talking a little bit about that. And this is really for all three of you. How are you balancing container through both the bulk and the project cargo needs?
Well, what I would say is we don't do anything in the globe.
Okay.
But our bread and butter is containers, and that's where the focus is.
Okay.
We have an enough facility, and of course, we all invested heavily in it. We still have that capability to also. And it's a good capability to have. It helps us diversify our cargo. But really, emphasis is with containers, and that's how it will be at the Port of Virginia going forward.
Okay. All right.
It's on me. We still on exports?
Yep.
All right. What you asked about prioritizing and balancing the containers, but what new export opportunities are you guys prioritizing? You talked about there's the all the different people you're attracting, but what export opportunities are you prioritizing?
Yeah, I think, we talked about the agriculture with the different feeds and soy. The Mid-Atlantic's a great soybean market. So that's one thing that's attracting a lot of these transloaders, because they can source locally, but then they could also bring product in from the Midwest via hopper cars. We also have, we've started another 3PL that's been in our market for some time, KTN. They're handling a lot of the synthetic resins coming in from the plant in Pennsylvania. So that's again coming in by hopper car and being loaded into containers. I would say some of the other export markets we're looking at, we're trying to do more in refrigerated areas. Virginia's had a good poultry and pork export, but we're trying to broaden that more into some other commodities.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the future. Let's talk about Project Channing Kersey.
Well, I think what you'll see is
You're
very right. So we'll finish the work it out. So we'll bring on a fifth USCD berth in 24/7. We'll finish the North berth work and Norfolk International Terminals. That'll take us to that 6 million TED mark. We'll monetize those assets, and we have a strategic planning process that we go through here later. And I'm sure that we'll begin to identify the next set of projects. But the goal is to take what we have and leverage it to our advantage, but also help the industry understand that when you use the Port of Virginia, it's going to be a benefit to you. And that, I can't tell you what the next 5 years are going to look like as far as investments, but we go through this process every year. We look at the market, we identify needs, we identify possibilities, we identify what we think those needs, possibilities, net costs.
Well, I want to, before we close out, before we do anything
I
else,
have lots more.
yeah, more. I do want to say that working with you guys. I mean, I've known you guys for a long time. We were there when I think it was the Catherine Maris. Wasn't the Catherine? It was the Regina.
It was 6,600.
That was going to be the biggest ship ever.
6,600.
Yeah, 6,600 TEU. I was there. We had the party, and it was.
What year is that?
Yeah, things would have been in 1999.
I knew it was going to be in the
Yeah, it's in 1999. So yeah, I'm aging myself. I don't mind, because I was there. The governor was there, Secretary of Transportation. We just had a great time, and it was impressive to see the growth then and the growth now. And you guys, I've watched the Port of Virginia. I've watched what you guys are doing with everything. And I just want to say to me, thanks for allowing me to be a part of that for as long as I've been, and to watch you guys do some amazing things.
What Kevin's saying is you made him what he is today.
100%. I got the pictures to prove it.
Well, you talk about the Virginia Maris coming in 6,600 TEU.
Yes.
we're servicing vessels in the 16,000 TE range.
Yeah.
And when you get to 55-foot channel, fully chartered and mapped, we'll be talking to the ocean carriers, telling them you can bring your next level of vessel to Virginia without concern for tide, tidal restrictions, overhead obstructions,
Two-way traffic.
two-way traffic. So you don't have to slow it down or close the channel while you pass. And we've got multiple kill speed bursts. So come on, we can handle it.
That's awesome.
Let's talk a little.
Well, I would add, Kevin, thank y'all for your
Yeah.
seeing that vision and making Virginia the place to be with the 3 million square feet of Walmart has grown with us and continue to grow with us. So we really appreciate
Who
it.
made that decision?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
From a small cotton
been a great
press in
market.
Suffolk.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I remember those days. And
Yeah.
that we kicked up a lot of dirt out there.
Yes, we
taking
did.
those turns.
Yeah,
So,
we did.
Really have grown with them, and they're great partners.
I
And,
have to say, Northwest Arkansas has changed quite a bit since,
Yes,
Yeah.
since those days.
Yes,
too.
it doesn't even look the same. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up. If you could, give me one word of how the Port of Virginia perceives the rest of 2026. I think it's a success. I love it. Liked it a lot.
yeah, I'd say opportunity.
All right. Great.
I'd say that's a tough. Yeah,
Those are two great ones. I know. It's kind of
I don't want to put him on the spot, but I think he would say they took first place in the regatta.
Oh,
First place.
there you go.
I think that's what
Okay.
he would say.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys.
I would say that we're positioned for success. We're positioned. It's just everything. When you look at everything that we're doing, we're providing just a reliable and very high level of service to our customers, and everything that we're focused on as far as improving is geared towards that.
Leave it to Tom to break the rule. I said one word.
I'm the sales guy.
Yeah.
To put it in one word for what,
Yeah.
what Tom said, maybe momentum.
Yeah.
That's
a good one. Yeah. I
Very
like
good.
that.
Success.
I love it.
Well, listen, guys, we really appreciate you coming by. Appreciate you being a sponsor of Kev Talks for TPM. Go enjoy the rest of the conference. It's a great day. It's a great conference. Thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate
Absolutely.
Thank you very
Love the
much.
podcast.
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Kev Talks, Real World Global Logistics. If today's discussion inspired you, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and share our podcast.
Remember, every great journey in logistics starts with a single step forward. Let's continue working together to transform the industry.